G20 protests and so on?
It's a nice soft question. No, you're quite right, because we do need to highlight what's going on. It's a terrible threat. It's a terrible threat, not only to individual liberty, but to some very, very basic traditions of public demonstration, public dissent, the ability to protest, make your views clear without the threat of constant surveillance, the creation of sort of criminal records out of sort of thin air. I mean, young people are being criminalised now on a scale never known before, often for things that previously were never criminal activities. I mean, you know, you can get an ASBO for kicking a football against a garage door, and if you break that ASBO, you've got a criminal record. You can find yourself threatened by police in demonstrations in a way that I think is wholly unacceptable. You can find yourself on a DNA database when you're innocent of any wrongdoing whatsoever. We've got the largest DNA database in the world, with the details of hundreds of thousands of entirely innocent people, including innocent babies, for whom it's assumed that if they're innocent now, they'll be guilty later. What kind of society is that? We are the most spied on nation almost anywhere in the world. Privacy International has said that we are spied on, whether it's by council officials using anti-terrorism legislation or by a battery of new surveillance technologies, more than, I think he said the exception was Malaysia and China. That's the kind of company I think Britain should be keeping. But I think something even worse which has happened over the last few years, which is a vilification of young people themselves. In a particularly under Tony Blair and a succession of tough-talking Home Secretaries, they decided the way that they were going to kind of get tough on crime was to basically say that all young people were a threat. And I think it's created horrible, horrible consequences. I mean, we now chuck 3,000 to 4,000 young men in our prison system every month. Most of them only stay there for a few weeks. And the vast majority of them simply come out to re-offend again. We are turning a lot of the young offenders of today into the hardened criminals of tomorrow. And they dare say that they are tough on crime, when they are creating a revolving door of crime. And they're turning young people, yes, difficult young people, sometimes damaged young people, deprived young people, but instead of doing the hard work of bringing them back from the brink, they're almost consigning themselves onto a sort of escalator towards repeat crime. 92% of all young men on short-term prison sentences of 12 weeks or less now in this country re-offend. And there is a different way of doing things. I mean, Liberal Democrats in Somerset, some time ago, took a really bold decision and said to young people in charge, they said, you've got a choice. If you do something wrong, I don't know, smash someone's window in, vandalise someone's home, get into a scrap on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you've got a choice. You can either go into the hands of the police, the court system, and the rest of it, or you can come before a panel of local people, including your victim, your victim's family, and members of the local community, and then together you will decide what you're going to do to make up for what you've done wrong. And it's tough. It's tough. They have to apologise. They have to explain what they've done. They have to make up for what they've done. Cleaning streets, cleaning parks, painting public buildings. And guess what the re-offending rate is in that Liberal Democrat scheme? 7%. 7% compared to 92%. That, for me, says everything about what's wrong with a kind of tough-talking vilification of young people under New Labour, and a tough, yes, tough, but also effective way of dealing with youth offending under Liberal Democrat.